Okay, let's look at the church as a river. We might describe it as the river of God. Of course, we all know that rivers aren't straight. There's lots of bends and turns along the way. But within this church, this congregation, there's lots of different people. And these people, of course, as we know, the New Testament tells us that they should be loving one another and caring for one another and serving one another. And so we see lots of that interchange going on between one another. Those things are always happening. But in the midst of that, we need different gifts for the church to be stronger and better and to keep moving down the river. We don't want the church to get stagnant and to get stuck there. So Ephesians 4 tells us about different gifts. First of all, we have the evangelist. And the evangelist is actually helping get more people into the river. And then we have the apostle. The apostle is a sent one. The apostle is leading people to places that they have never gone before, going on new frontiers and leading the way. They're navigating the way down the river that the church has not been on before. We also have on one bank of the river prophets. Prophets are proclaiming the truth, reminding people of God's truth, and encouraging and exhorting people to remain into the truth of God. The other side of the bank are teachers. Teachers, again, are instructing the believers along the way so that they stay within the banks of the river and don't get led off stray. And then we have the gift of being a shepherd, often referred to as a pastor. And the shepherd is making sure that no one gets left behind or no one drowns in the river along the way. Now, in the midst of these groups of people, as they're loving one another and making their way down the river because of the different gifts, what emerges from there are leaders who lead by example within the midst of the river. They lead by serving one another and serving the congregation. And so we see sometimes it's the office or the appointment of deacons. Those, as I would just describe them, as leading the way in service. They're setting the example. Now, out of these gifts, and certainly there's many other gifts that Paul mentions in the letters, but out of these gifts come people who the church recognizes and then appoints as elders. So you have the deacons, and the church recognizes who the elders are. And these are a group of leaders, almost always in the New Testament, that as far as I've seen, have been are multiple elders. So people with multiple of these gifts working together and then seen to be overseeing the church. And then from those elders, sometimes there is maybe one person who would sort of lead the charge, kind of coordinate all those things together. But also another thing that happens is that, say we have God doing another thing with another river here, and maybe another river up here. And as these rivers converge together, we want to see them to be unified. And so we have that term that's often been brought out as that of a bishop. And so the bishop is doing the same thing that the elders are doing, as overseeing, but now they're overseeing maybe a larger group than before.